Well, in the Tesla bull world, there are people that are known for being the biggest bulls, so to speak, on various subjects. And Brian and I have been such big bulls when it comes to semi trucks that we think we're in a class by ourselves. That doesn't mean that there aren't other folks, even within Brian and my group of friends and other YouTubers, that don't think the semi is a big deal. But Brian is, he believes that we're eventually going to be building, that Tesla will eventually be building 4 million, virtually all of the big trucks and semi trucks in the world. I'm a little more limited bull, thinking that I think it would be foolish not to build at least 1 million by the turn of the decade. And that puts us ahead, though, of everybody else, I think, because most people are thinking, boy, it'd be amazing if they did 100,000. But Brian, Wang, thanks for being on again.
Thank you.
If you missed the other 2 times Brian's been on over the last few days, you need to go back and take a look at those. I will put cards at the end for those 2 shows. Brian, we're now talking about what's the name of this?
Run on less.
Run on less.
Run on less.
Very weird name and hard to remember.
Mm-hmm.
So that's runonless.com.
Yep.
So people can go, you can go look, and people can go, you can watch in almost real time
22 trucks.
22 large trucks, or semi trucks basically, that are out running on electrical, on batteries, and being tested for their capabilities, their range, how much fuel they're using, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Brian, help me out. I know so much less about this than you do.
Right. So on Run on Less is there's some NACFE, North American blah 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 fuel efficiency organization. So they were testing semi trucks for fleet owners. So before this, they like 5 years ago, whatever, they would test highly fuel efficient trucks, 10 miles per gallon. So they would be on the leading edge of the most efficient vehicles. So they do the event every 2 years, and they give real world data for fleet owners. You buy 10 or more trucks, you buy 5 or more trucks, you're a fleet owner, you have trucks, and you want to get the most efficient ones, right? Because you're going to run loads and do stuff like that. So then they give real world data. So then, various companies want to show off that they got, the most fuel efficient ones. So then they come to NACFE and they'll do an event. It's kind of like, kind of like a version of NASCAR or something like that, where you have, testing, real world testing. They put in all the sensors and then they run them, and they do it for about, I think, 21 days.
Yes, 21 days. Yep.
And so they get all the data, and they publish a report and do it live. So they've done it every 2 years. Last year, it was the first time, 2 years ago, the first time they did electric trucks, and now it's again electric trucks. So the last 2 times have been electric trucks. Before that, it was hybrid and 10 mile per gallon gas vehicles.
And this time, and I guess, has Pepsi been a sponsor of this for a long time? Or I know they're a major sponsor of this particular event.
I think this is the first time Pepsi, the beverage side, has done it. I think Frito-Lay, again owned by Pepsi, did it 2 years ago.
Okay.
And Frito-Lay is there again. But this time Pepsi's there, one of 11 or 12 different fleets of vehicles.
And in this particular case, out of 22 vehicles, 5 of them are Tesla vehicles in the Pepsi fleet. Is that correct?
No, I think only 3. Only 3.
3 out of the 22 are Pepsi vehicles from the Tesla vehicles from the Pepsi fleet.
Sacramento, yeah.
Right. Okay. And this is not exactly a straight-on competition. It's not like this company, they're running exactly the same route with exactly the same amount of weight for the same number of hours or whatever. They are running routes that are appropriate for the equipment, or where the companies have wanted to have these real-world tests in these kind of route environments. Is that kind of how you?
It is their standard routes.
Standard routes.
So UPS does their standard routes. It's their business, because it's my trucks, I'm running my stuff. The only thing is now I got this third party sticking in sensors, running some video, recording things. Basically, I invite you to my place, because it's not like I'm going to build another $20 million facility. I'm going to like take these expensive trucks, which cost me, however many $1,000 every day to do. Like, I'm still delivering my Pepsi to, the places. I'm doing my regular route, right? I'm just opening the kimono and say, hey, look at me do my route. That's what they're doing. And then they're recording the data.
All right. And so the CEO, anyway, one of the heads over at Daimler said there was no chance, no way in the world that a fully loaded semi-truck could do 500 miles. And then I think there was another major CEO that said, oh, no, I guess it was Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
That's who it was, Bill Gates, who said, fiction, there's not a chance. Told Elon specifically, there's no way. And okay, so we've got, I think, 12 days under our belt right now with this testing going on. And these, again, the information is posted daily, maybe even interday. I'm not sure, maybe changing live. I think it's changing live in terms of the data. So what have we learned? What have we learned so far?
So we've learned that Tesla's claim of 500 miles of range with a loaded vehicle is basically correct. But some of their runs with 100%, if you look, because they give the data like, okay, I'm starting the day at 96% charge. I go down to 8% that I recharge the vehicle, right? I go down, maybe as low as 3%. But basically, I'm not going to go too low, just like I don't want to run my car too low. I need to like refuel, right?
And it might also be a great place to refuel,
right?
As opposed to some other,
right? Because I stop someplace, I come. There's not virtually no public charging stations. You have to charge at maybe a supercharger station or something like that if you had a Tesla vehicle, something like that. But you don't want to do that because those max out at 240 kilowatts or whatever. Pepsi has built 4 750 kilowatt chargers, and that took them 3 years to do that at their Sacramento facility. So they're doing runs from the Sacramento thing where they got the beverages, and then they're running them to, whatever stores, warehouses where they need to deliver them, and they go back, get more, and come back out. And when they're there, okay, I came back, I'm recharging, right? And then I go back out again, right? So there's logistics to what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So of course we've all, probably almost everybody in my audience has been paying attention to the fact, or if you own a Tesla vehicle, that you don't get the same mileage when it's super hot. You don't get the same mileage when it's super cold. You don't get the same mileage when you're going over 70 miles an hour. That's definitely, I've seen that all the time because where we live, it's not uncommon to be going 85. And so your mileage goes down. Of course, just like any vehicle, in the city, you're not going to get the same mileage you get when you're just sitting right on the highway going exactly 60. Or there's probably a number, right? The perfect number in the perfect temperature where you would get the absolute maximum number of miles. So the Tesla trucks are obviously going to be in exactly the same situation where it's colder, it's hot, or there's more uphill than downhill. I was always hoping for more downhill than uphill when I was riding my bicycle as a kid, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought, where could I find the ride and I finally found the ride where it's all downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Haleakala in Maui, they take you up to the top of Haleakala, and then it's 17 miles downhill with, I think, a 3/4 mile section that you have to pedal. Anyway, so the perfect ride. Anyway, so, but we're seeing that overall, after 11 days and 3 trucks, the 500-mile range is an optimal range, but seemingly that's what they're doing.
So they're basically getting between 400 and 480 miles of range for their, because if you if I look at 100% charge,
right,
how much they get, right? I don't take the 90% thing where they be charging them that, but 100%, because they got the little curves on it. But they also give the speed and the temperature of stuff. For the speed is the main thing, because when they get like 400, 420 miles, they were driving at 65 miles per hour. Right, the 480 that they just did on, I think, day 10, more of their trucks, was when they drove 60 miles per hour.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see the difference between if I'm driving slower. But the thing is, like, so why would the truck driver for Pepsi drive 65 or drive 60 or whatever? And the optimal thing, if you recall, the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit back in the 70s and 80s, that's kind of actually the optimal efficiency thing, which they made a big deal about. So physics, gas, diesel, electric,
Right.
52, 55 miles per hour is kind of like your optimal speed. But people don't. Like, oh, why would I not do that? Because if I'm driving 400 miles, then it will take me, say, 7 hours to do that if I'm driving, 60 miles per hour, right? Or maybe even 6.5 hours if I'm driving 65 miles per hour. At 55, I'm heading towards 8 hours, right? So the truck driver is saying, I don't want to be on the road for the 2 hours. I can drive this higher speed and I'm not going to get a ticket, right? So then I'm going to go faster so I can finish it off an hour early. I also got a 10-hour limit when I got to get out of the freaking truck, right? Because that's a rule that you have to get out. So I want, just like me, if I'm driving from here to LA, I'm going 70, 75, 80 down the highway on 5 so that I can, barring traffic, get there in 5 hours. I want to shave off that half hour, right? Yeah. Same thing for the truck drivers. Sure. If I have the range, I'm going to burn it up for extra speed so I can save an hour. And they're doing that. They're saving an hour. And I lost that extra bit of charge. Who cares? I will charge my vehicle. I'll refuel. Right? The fact that my overall range went down, I don't give a crap because I'm going to save that time. So that's what they're doing.
Right. So there's also been some commentary with regard to the speed of charging, the logistics of planning the charge times and whatnot. What have they been saying about those things?
So there's videos where the Pepsi people say that, the drivers and the project managers say that they can get 80% charge in 45 minutes.
80% charge in 45 minutes.
80% charge in 45 minutes. So if you assume 900 kilowatt hours, then you're looking at, this, 700 kilowatts, 650 kilowatts in 45 minutes. But if you look at the graphs, it's looking like it's taking 60 to 90 minutes, 60 minutes, to get 80%, and then 90 minutes to get 90%, because the curve, it slows down as you're doing it. So, what's going on there? One is you may be switching drivers when that's happening, right? Because you did a 400-mile thing, you did an 8-hour thing. So if I'm going to do another 8 hours, 9 hours of drive, it can't be the same guy, right? Because it's got to be a different guy, different driver coming in. And the other thing would be that I'm unloading the truck. I got to take out 40 tons of beverage in order to, or I have to load in 40 tons of beverage. Like I'm loading up the truck to do it. I pulled in, I dropped off at some location, and now I come back. So there's some pause there where it's not driving, and then it's unloaded, it's empty, and then comes back. It may have picked up some water or something, moved on to the load. But then when I come back to the plant, I got to load up again. And it takes time to stick in, if it's not 40 tons, but it's 44,000 pounds, 22 tons of stuff. It's like a lot of stuff. You see those guys rolling the hand carts, they're doing whatever. It's going to take time to load. So then they're loading it up and they're just leaving their charging.
Yeah. And of course, if it's overnight, same thing. If it's between, now so far they've been running some of them 2 shifts. And I think I've seen where they've actually had 800-mile days.
They've had multiple 800-mile days. So that's like, I think that one of the best ones is 853 miles. There was a day, I think day 10, they had all of them, all 3 trucks doing like 720, 820, and 841, right? And that meant 2 shifts because I need to run 400 miles, pause, charge, another 400 miles roughly in order to get the 800 miles. And that's taking, if you're driving 60 miles per hour, that's taking 7-8 hours. Plus they got to stop and drop off the stuff. I'm not like driving it and turning it around again. I got to like unload this thing because I'm doing work.
Yes.
Right. So I got to like unload it, load it, and do stuff. So the runs take 10 hours, 6 hours to do there, 2 hours to get there and take out the stuff, put in the stuff, and then change drivers and then do it again. So it's not hanging around overnight. It's like that, those 800 some hour days, it's like 20 hours of work,
Of work.
16 hours of driving, and then 4 hours of loading and unloading. Yeah.
So we were saying, I think that I forget now, it's been a while since I've done the math. Is it saving something like 60 cents a mile in energy?
So if you're saying, let's compare against a 10 mile per gallon truck.
Right.
So 10 miles per gallon for $6 diesel here in California.
Right.
That means about 60 cents per mile.
Okay.
Right. Let's stick with the 10 miles. So $6 of fuel for a 10 mile section. So Tesla is getting 1.7 kilowatt hours per mile. So 17 kilowatt hours for 10 miles, right? So Sacramento off-peak charging is 14 cents per kilowatt hour. So 17 times 14 cents, you're looking at about like $2.20. Okay. So you're saving, just shy of $4 on it. But they also built a bunch of solar there. So the solar would be at a lower price, right, because they're getting off of that. So, and then there are ways to get 10 cents wholesale on your electricity. So you can get like $1.70. So you're in the range of $1.50, $1.30 per 10 miles to $2.40, $2.50, something like that per mile. So you're saving, $3 to $4, $5 per 10 miles of driving.
So that's 30 cents a mile.
Right, 30 cents a mile. Yeah.
Okay, times 800 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Is $240 a day.
Yep. Right.
So let's round down. $200 a day.
Right.
$200 a day when you're driving a truck like that. I mean, when you're moving a truck around like that, that's a significant savings.
Right.
$7,000 a year.
$70,000. You mean $70,000? $70. If you drove 300
days times
350 days, 350 days times
$200,
$70K.
70K.
Yeah, $70K.
Am I doing I'm doing my powers of 10 wrong?
Yeah, you're doing powers of 10 wrong. Yeah.
Oh my! So it's $70,000 savings a year in energy.
Yeah. If you drove it every day in a month, you'd be $6,000 a month. Right.
Oh my goodness. All right. I've always had power 10 problems. I'm sorry, folks.
Yeah.
You've seen this, and if you watch my videos very often, at least, I don't know, once a month, I'll do a power 10 problem around. Anyway, well, Brian, is there anything more to say about this testing thing that's going on? It goes on for another
9 days. Yeah.
9 days or something like that. Yeah.
So the other thing is that they're testing the depots, the truck depots. It's what they're run on less. It's like the depots, which is where they the Pepsi in Sacramento is a depot.
Yeah.
Right. So they gave a halfway through report talking about the depot learning, which is that the other trucks, E-Cascadia made by Freightliner, which is an electric truck made by the biggest truck maker in the world, which is also owned by Daimler. So the Daimler trucks are also them. So those ones, they have depots. One is the E-Cascadias. They're maxing out about like 250 miles in one day. They can't charge faster, so they can't do double runs. No double run for the long haul trucks, which is the E-Cascadia. There's a Nikola, there's one BYD. And also, if you look at most of the days, 100 miles or less. 100 miles or less.
Maybe doing a different route.
Different routes. Yeah, whatever they're doing. Yeah. But, very few days over 250. They have their big day, their equivalent of an 850 mile day for Tesla is a 250 mile day for them. Them getting over 200 miles is a big deal. Wow. Not most days they do not do that. And then so they have these depots. So, the guys who bought those trucks, the companies, Purelator, UPS, OK Grocery or whatever it is, they're happy with those trucks. They're doing these short routes, right? Because they said, okay, this thing only has 100 miles, but I'm super happy because I'm doing these 10-mile roads here and back.
Got it.
Right? So then the depots, it's like, also it's like for them to have 10 trucks doing these short routes or 5 trucks doing these short routes, they only need less than a megawatt total, right? So the Pepsi one needs 3 megawatts because they got like 4 750 kilowatt chargers. I mean, it charged 3 megawatts, right? So then it took them 3 years to build it up. They had to work with Sacramento SMUD, well, I think it's Sacramento Mutual Utility. And so the other ones have less. So they have these small depots where you can do mobile chargers. I'm not really sure what those things are, but they carry like 5 mobile chargers. So I think they hook up someplace else and then they suck power out of like a 220, a few regular plugs, and they charge up there. So they're not even building stuff. They're like having a way to charge in regular places, overnight, wherever they're doing. But they also don't need to have a bunch of infrastructure at their other location, so they can have these weak trucks. So, but they think they have uses for them, right? For these short range trucks. Also, the short range trucks, there's something called drayage, DRAYAGE. That's moving stuff around ports, right? So there's about 35,000 registered drayage trucks, California registered, California made or home stationed drayage trucks around the port of LA, port of San Francisco, port of Oakland, wherever, right? And they do these super short runs, right? So the thing is about those, if you the state of California has said, you guys must shift out all these drayage trucks into electric by 2035. All of them must go. But starting next year, all your new trucks,
have to be
1,000 a year, whatever, have to be electric. And New York, New Jersey, a bunch of them are copying this thing. And also all these subsidies for them, where you say, okay, New York, I give you $180,000 to buy this truck, right? So the drayage trucks, if they use diesel, those things may only get 3 miles per gallon.
Wow.
Because they're driving at slow speeds, right? And they're also doing these stop and stop routes and blah, blah, blah. So they're not like driving on the highway. They're driving really short runs, which is why, they were getting sales for the e-Cascadia and these other vehicles, because I don't care that it only has 150, 200 miles of range max, because I'm driving 5 miles. I'm driving around the port. I'm doing nothing with this vehicle, right? And I'm replacing something that gets crap mileage. If I only do 100 miles, but I only get 2 miles, 3 miles per gallon, I'm still using 50 gallons of gas. I'm still using $300 worth of diesel, right? And as we know, if the mileage sucks on miles per gallon efficiency sucks, the pollution on those things is just off the charts, right? Because, if you see those small things, they're billowing black smoke, it may have passed some kind of smog test a year ago, right? But now it's not, and it's still belching out fuel until the next thing where I maintain it and do something with this thing. So that's why those things are highly desirable to replace. One, easiest to do it. 2, it's the worst trucks that you're replacing. There's more than 35,000. Like California has a registry of like 130, 150,000 trucks because there's some out of state registrations on those things. And then, if you look up and down the ports, there's probably like 500,000, 1 million of these vehicles in the US. And then you got Canada, Mexico, and then you got Europe and Asia with all these drayage trucks. So there's probably like 4 million drayage trucks. And there's also these regional trucks, which is the Pepsi use case, which is I am driving around a region. I'm driving around from Sacramento up to LA, up to Reno, whatever, doing some zone. And I got another one based over in San Jose or Oakland, running zones and deliveries out to wherever, right? So I'm in this 150-mile area where I'm doing these drop-off and deliveries and stuff like that. So I'm returning to home base. I don't need to have a new mega charging station out someplace. And Tesla's going to make some mega charging, a route between California and Texas, their SpaceX thing and their SpaceX thing and
yes.
whatever else, they're gonna have like 6 stops on the way. But that will take time to build out, right? But then in the meantime, the Pepsis of the world, Walmarts, etc., FedEx can do these regional delivery routes. And regional delivery, the use cases for the eCascadia at 200 some miles, the regional route, that's all Tesla right now. You at their 400, 500 miles of range, that's perfectly good for regional routes. I make a home-based charging thing. It goes out 100 miles, 150 miles, comes back, and recharges. It's all good, right? I don't need to have anything there. And I make one charging thing. The charging thing probably costs like, I don't know, 10 million bucks, right? 50 million bucks, which the state of California gave Pepsi all the money for that. So all these initial trucks, a few $1 billion on them, they're perhaps 80%, 90% subsidized. And the charging stations, 89% subsidized. So they're the first few billion, the first few thousand trucks will be virtually completely subsidized in order to get them going. But then the Tesla one will win because because the actual efficiency, the actual usage of it is better. And the double stacking of like, I can run it for 8-10 hours and then do a second shift. No one else can do a second shift because they can't charge that fast.
Right.
So that, and so then they're saying that the medium-sized depots, so the small depots, doable now, which is not even the Tesla thing. That's the dryage route. That's the mail delivery thing where I'm doing super short range stuff. And then the medium depots, the Pepsi one is 21 trucks. That'd be a medium depot. That needs to do 3 megawatt hours, needs to do like 40 megawatt hours per day, 50 megawatt hours per day, because it's charging 20 trucks at least once a day. And then if you do they say 5 megawatts is something they can do, which would be roughly 40 trucks, right? So that, and in terms of megawatt hours, I think a megawatt hour is enough for a 400,000 square foot office building, right? So a really big office park would use that kind of thing. So it says, again, infrastructure thing where I got to build that stuff out. Where can I stick these things? And where is there a bunch of extra power? Where did I get a bunch of extra solar and wind in Texas and California so that I got so much power I can't even store it? Okay, I can pop in a energy hungry truck location there. Right. Because so that's something else that has to happen. There's logistic things where and then I get all these people saying, "Oh, I drive a long haul truck and stuff like that," and it doesn't. Yes, it doesn't work for you yet, right? It won't work for your company yet. But the regional trucks is 30%. The dryage trucks are 5 to 10%, right? So there's these big use cases that if I'm getting up to 40% of the trucks, that is 100,000 trucks per year sales, and that's 1.5 million trucks in the United States, 3 million trucks in Europe, 15 million trucks in Asia and China, right? So huge markets that ramp up to 1 million plus vehicles per year is just the regional trucks that we're just showing. Yeah. And Tesla will make them better. I can go into the batteries about how they'll make them better in 5-7 years. But the ramp is still going to be happening there. So.
All right, Brian. Well, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. And the future is bright. And I'm hoping that Elon is listening to us. Elon, You need to make 1 million, at least 1 million. Brian won't be happy with 1 million, but I'll be happy with 1 million by 2030. Brian, would you be happy with 1 million by 2030?
I'd be happy with 2030.
Okay, 1 million a year. Elon, come on now. You can do it. That would give you another Apple-sized company there with about 400 billion in sales, 350, 400 billion in sales, and 100 billion in profits. So just, one more Apple. Why not? Let's do it. Come on, go. Let's go. Brian, thanks so much for being on.
Thank you.
And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you. If you don't mind, I do want to pitch my little device here. I have these little devices for $25. You can't believe how cool this is. Look at how thick the stainless. I mean, holy mackerel! It comes in. It comes in a camo as well. It's a can opener. I mean, I'm sorry, not a can opener, a bottle opener. So you got your bottle opener here too, and it's got a magnet on the back, so you can slap it up on your fridge. I mean, is this good or what? So anyway, you just send $25 to my PayPal account. It's down in the information below. Just click on there. You can send it 20. Now, if you're out of the country, I got to charge you an extra $20 for freight. So, or if you join my Patreon, I'll give you one at the $10 level. I'll give you one for free.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.